At first glance, the Enneagram 5-7 relationship looks like the old opposites attract. But anytime two types are connected via these lines of integration and disintegration, you get a pairing with more than a few shared traits and highly complementary behaviors. Furthermore, 5s and 7s are both head types within the triad centers, and they can also share a 6-wing. So this relationship is a really good example of how knowing just a little bit about some foundational Enneagram theories can tell you a whole lot about what even the most polar opposite looking people may have in common. Now, in regards to those lines of integration and disintegration, that's just a metaphor for the ways we behave differently when we feel secure versus when we feel stressed or insecure. So 7s that are stable will stop impulsively jumping from one thing to another, and instead they become fully present and deeply focused on one thing at a time, very much like your average 5, which is their movement of integration. On the flip side, stressed out 5s often feel incapable of slowing down the activity of the mind, which then manifests itself in the scattered, unfocused activity of the body, very much like your average 7, as that's their movement of disintegration. Now, you may have noticed that a major theme tying all these behaviors together is the mind. And as I said a moment ago, both 5s and 7s are head types within the triad centers. Not going to go too deep into this since I've got a whole other video on the triadic patterns that's linked in the description below. But in general, it's important to know that all head types are primarily influenced by ideas rather than emotion, the future rather than the past or present, and lastly, they have a core struggle with anxiety. Although they deal with that anxiety in totally different ways, which we'll talk more about when we get to the section on conflict. But in regards to relational intimacy, the mind is where this couple meets, and they love to have deep conversations about any and all topics, no matter how controversial, complex, or taboo they may be. Now, this need to go wherever the mind takes them also leads 5s and 7s to share a strong desire for individual autonomy. For 7s, they need to feel free to say yes to whatever opportunity or adventure creates their trademark sense of anticipation. And for 5s, they need to feel free to be alone for long stretches of time so they can either recharge or research their latest topic of interest. This shared value for personal freedom and individual pursuits also means that neither partner typically needs more time and attention than the other person is willing to give. Essentially, they're about convenient quality rather than quantity. Okay, last thing, if this couple does share a 6-wing, they often bond over their desire to bring their mental playground into a real world or socially impactful setting of some kind. It'll also create a tendency for more anxious or scattered behavior in this relationship, as the 6-wing signals that these types are leaning deeper into the head center rather than leaning out into the gut center for the 7-wing 8 or out into the heart center for the 5-wing 4. But before we get any deeper into some complex Enneagram theory, let's pull up and talk about a few things that specifically attract the Type 5 investigator to the Type 7 enthusiast and vice versa. Thank you so much for watching You've Got a Type. If you enjoyed that clip, then why not watch the full video it was taken from right here? And if you really enjoyed it, then maybe hit those like and subscribe buttons before you go. No pressure though. Just happy you're here.